Last year, we had names like C.J. Stroud, Puka Nacua, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Zay Flowers, Jaden Reed, Jordan Addison, and Sam Laporta, a rookie class that helped people win their fantasy leagues and ultimately, hopefully, win their fantasy championship. Well, in today's video, we're looking towards the 2024 season. We're giving you 6 rookies that we believe could help you at least get to the playoffs, if not win the whole damn thing.
That's right.
Rookies that you should be drafting, even though we haven't seen them play a snap in the NFL. I'll go first.
Sure.
A player I'm going to have everywhere. I have him in a lot of dynasty leagues already. I'm excited to watch him. From your New York Football Giants.
Come on.
Malik Neighbors.
Come on.
All right. Malik Neighbors on ESPN is a wide receiver 25. On Sleeper and Underdog ranging from 18 to 19. I have him ranked as my wide receiver 18 in my rankings right now in my projections. Anytime we talk about our rankings, it's not just like a piece of paper and we move players around. It's all a projection-based model, which will be in our draft guide we release here on July 1st. But here's what I think the comment section is going to be filled of potentially. Giants wide receivers don't score fantasy points. You're an idiot. Okay?
Right.
Well, the last time a Giants wide receiver had talent like Malik Neighbors has talent was Odell Beckham Jr., and that was all the way back in 2018. Let's look at the Giants wide receiver one since 2018, okay? Darius Slayton, Kenny Golladay, Evan Ingram was your number one targeted in 2020, Golden Tate, and then OBJ, the only guy over 120 targets in the last, 6 years for the Giants wide receivers? Right. The reason the Giants haven't scored fantasy points is because they have had a bottom 5 unit in the NFL since Odell Beckham Jr. left. No one has deserved a high target share on that team in that time span, and it's better to be early than late with rookies that have Malik Neighbors' profile. Wide receivers, ultra talented, drafted top 6 in the NFL draft. Let's look at the last 5 years. ADP versus finish for these rookie wide receivers. Well, Jamar Chase in his rookie year was a wide receiver 31 in ADP. He finished as a wide receiver 5. Jalen Waddle, the wide receiver 41 in ADP, he finished as a wide receiver 15. Malik Neighbors is a little more pricey than these names because we're starting to get smarter. This is how these young stud rookie wide receivers are going to get, utilized when they're drafted in the top 10. You can see Jamar Chase obviously had that breakout rookie season, almost 18 points per game. Jalen Waddle, 15.5 points per game before Tyreek Hill joined the Dolphins. Yep. And if you look at target share in the top 10 over the last 5 years, every rookie wide receiver drafted top 10 in the last 5 years. This is their target share. Jamar Chase, almost 24%. Jalen Waddle at 23.5%. Devonta Smith over 22%. Drake London at 29%. Garrett Wilson at 25%, averaging out at 24.7%. I want you to look at the names Drake London and Garrett Wilson for a second because they were in a similar situation that now Malik Neighbors is, from the perspective of who the hell else is on their team. Drake London had Kyle Pitts, that was it. Garrett Wilson, there was no one worthy to take targets away from him in New York. At the moment, I think that we could see Malik Neighbors anywhere from a 25 to 27% target share. You can see OBJ back in 2016 is the last person to go over 25% of the target share for this team. The only weapon on this team that was close to being worthy of a number one target share spot was Darren Waller, and that was before he got out of his prime. And Darren Waller is gone. Saquon Barkley, also a high targeted back in this league, gone. Neighbors is going to be fed from day one. It's Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Malik Neighbors as the starters for this team. Jalen Hyatt, sprinkle him in there, a couple downfield targets. Neighbors is going to be fed. Yes, the targets are not going to be, the most reliable targets from Daniel Jones, but volume, opportunity, and I think he is going to shine in his first year.
Absolutely. I completely agree that Malik Neighbors is going to be a phenomenal talent, not only because he was drafted top 6, because he's also a New York Football Giant. Look, I love the guy. I'm going to my take here. I wanted to bring guys that are going later in your redraft drafts, okay? Guys that are going maybe rounds 8 or later, because I can easily bring you some of these top guys, but I want to go a little bit deeper. I wanted to bring the Jaden Reeds of last year. I wanted to bring those type of players, okay? My first guy Yeah, sneaky values that can win your leagues going into this year that probably doesn't even cost anything either. Jalen Polk, okay? Coming into this year, there are a couple different reasons why I like Jalen Polk. And let's start off with the division. I'll tell you at the end some of my really big points. Okay, the AFC East. This is a tough division. Josh Allen, Tua Tags, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Aaron Rodgers. There are two teams that are top 6 in scoring. Once again, where could the Jets and Aaron Rodgers been? Bills with 6th with 26.6 points per game. This is a high scoring division. Dolphins 3rd. We saw them go crazy. Maybe that's a little bit skewed with that 70-point game with 27.9 fantasy points per game. The Jets were 28th. 15.8. Once again, what would have Aaron Rodgers have done in that offense if he played a full season? We've seen Aaron Rodgers with the Green Bay Packers multiple years have one of the top scoring offenses in the league. And obviously the New England Patriots was 31st, second last with 13.9. Now, why is this important for Jalen Polk's success? Because when there is a bad team in a really tough division, what happens? The results are to run less and pass more, right? But let's look at this New England Patriots. I think this is what's exciting about going into this 2024 season. Bill Belichick is gone. Okay, and what was Bill known for? Obviously, he had Tom Brady, so there wasn't a lot he really had to do, but he had to run the ball and great defense, and Tom would do the rest. Okay, there's no doubt this team will still be focusing on running the ball and having a great defense. But I do believe Jared Mayo will be adapting to the 2024 NFL and converting this more to a balanced offense or more of an emphasis on the pass game, especially with them drafting Drake May, a gunslinger of a quarterback coming out of North Carolina who we loved. He was first in big time throws in 2023 in college football, 97.1 PFF deep ball passer grading. I mean, this is a phenomenon. What we do know is that he is a playmaker type of quarterback, going 3rd overall. Let's break down this wide receiver room and see who is competition here. Kendrick Bourne, he tore his ACL last year, mid-season. Is he even going to be ready? And he's not even building rapport with Drake May currently in OTAs. And what is that timeline going to look like for him to be back? The expectation is that he's going to be back in the beginning of the season. Demario Douglas, great second half of the season. We know he shouldn't be overlooked, arguably now the third best wide receiver on this team for a lot of people. And then Javon Baker, loved him coming out of college. He's arguably the second best wide receiver on this team. And then you have Kayshon Boutte, who? Tyquan Thornton, who? Juju Smith, who? I mean, these guys are nowhere near where I'm projecting Jalen Polk to be coming in with the expectation. And what happens when you draft a quarterback and then the wide receiver, they build rapport in this same draft, and this is where Jalen Polk is going to be coming in. And what does he cost you? Nothing. He's going in the later rounds of your drafts here, round 10 or later. Some people, I think that will definitely change as we get closer and closer to the season. But this is why Jalen Polk is primed for a breakout with a low risk, high reward type of player that can go out and win you your league this year.
Yeah, he's a fun pick from the perspective of he'll cost you nothing and you have little expectations. And, you know, the same thing could have been said about Jaden Reed last year, like you mentioned. Puka Nacua kind of came out of nowhere. As far as Nico Collins goes, he had already been in the NFL for a couple of years, and he worked out some of the kinks, you know, in his game. So he was ready for Nico Collins' breakout. But, you know, if Drake May is this breakout that nobody sees coming, then someone's going to benefit from that. Is that Pop Douglas? Is that Jalen Polk?
Yeah.
It's worth taking a shot later in your rounds, so I can see it. And by the way, you don't have to wait until September to play fantasy football. You can actually play right now, okay? Real money on the line, real tournament, over on Underdog Fantasy. If you want to sign up, use a promo code LAND. You're going to get a 50% deposit match up to $250. So if you think about that, you're getting $125 free on us, on the DynastyLand channel, just because you used our code.
That's awesome.
But let's draft together today. If you love drafting, if you love fantasy, go ahead and get in there. It is a really fun experience. And they also do pick'ems. They got special pick'ems every single day. For example, their most recent special pick'em was over under 0.5 points for Caitlin Clark over in the WNBA. So
that's easy money.
If you like making money, go to Underdog Fantasy, use a promo code LAND, check out the pinned comment. Let's get back to the video. All right, my second player that I think is going to, be a highly rostered player on fantasy championship teams is Jonathan Brooks. My RB23 heading into the season, that makes me at this moment higher than any of the platforms that you're drafting on. Jonathan Brooks was the first running back selected in the 2023 NFL draft, right? Or 2024 NFL draft, excuse me. Round 2 selection. And this is a guy who kind of came out of nowhere at Texas. There was this hole left by Bijan Robinson, one of the best prospects we had seen out of Texas ever at that position. And Jonathan Brooks just filled that gap, did not skip a beat at all. Like, very different type of player. Reminds me a lot of Travis Etienne, a great pass catcher, a guy that you can get into the screen game, good vision, good at all levels of the position. And when you look at this backfield in Carolina, it is absolute cheeks outside of Jonathan Brooks. And cream rises to the top, as we all know. I will recognize that the Carolina offensive line and offense in general last year was pretty bad. So it would have been hard for a running back to really stand out. But at minimum, none of these backs really outshined their situation. Chuba Hubbard, who averaged under 4 yards per carry. Same with Miles Sanders, who was atrocious. Same with Raheem Blackshear. No running back over 4 yards per carry.
Right.
And none of them were big receiving threats either. And last thing I'll say is I'm obsessed with how Dave Canales utilizes his running backs, at least how he did in Tampa Bay last year. He is the new head coach for the Carolina Panthers. He's talked about reviving this offense. And last year, he helped Baker Mayfield revive his career in Tampa Bay. The offense functioned completely around 2 players, Mike Evans and Rachaad White. Rachaad White was one of 10 running backs who had 70 targets or more in 2023. White was a constant for Baker Mayfield through design plays and also just as a dump-off option if Baker Mayfield got in trouble. This offense needs a Rachaad White type of back to run their offense through. It's no surprise to me that Canales decided to spend a round 2 pick, the only round 2 pick on a running back in a weak class, on Jonathan Brooks. Clearly, he sees a lot in Jonathan Brooks. Now, limit your expectations for the beginning of the season because Jonathan Brooks is coming off an ACL tear.
Yeah, exactly.
But this was not a dirty knee damage, if that makes sense. Like, it wasn't like a Javonte Williams, a J.K. Dobbins type of knee injury, a Nick Chubb type of knee injury. This was a clean break, similar to what we saw for Breece Hall, and those details absolutely do matter when it comes to betting on a running back. And guess what? There are doctors, multiple doctors, a team of doctors every NFL team has that get paid millions of dollars a year to decide if a player is worth drafting or not. And they all decided spend a round 2 pick on Jonathan Brooks. He's not going to, be a concern from an injury perspective. So I think he's going to dominate volume. He's going to be a high touch guy. It might not be efficient, similar to Rachaad White, but there could be a lot of exciting plays out of the backfield here for Jonathan Brooks once he gets healthy.
Oh, no question. Dave Canales, Jonathan Brooks, the talent should easily be a phenomenal year, especially in the second half of the season, kind of like you mentioned. So I'm excited about that. I would say I'm bringing the same sort of guy. Mora, a lot leans on his success, and I would consider this a hot take.
Okay.
Jalen Wright is somebody I believe is going to be a league winner in the second half of the season here, or whenever Raheem goes down. Now, that is a big caveat here in this take, but we have to be honest with ourselves. I mean, do we trust Raheem to stay healthy? Once in his career, out of the years he has played, has only played 1 full season. Even last year, he didn't play the full season. Okay? And look, shout out to Draft Shark here. They have an injury percentage factor and the chances of re-injuring in 2024, and it doesn't look good for Raheem. 88.8% chance of re-injury in 2024, and obviously chance per game of injury per game is 12.1%. Have a look at the laundry list of injuries Raheem Mostert had in his career, and you can see here all the games he have missed. Look at the screenshot. Since 2017, once again, only played 1 full season in his career, with the 2023 season being the first that he has surpassed 200 attempts, over 1,000 yards in his career. 2024, 2023 clearly was an anomaly. And I think 2024, we can understand that Jalen Wright can step in here. And this is what's exciting. Let's just say, if we are talking about Jalen Wright going into this year and taking over Raheem Mostert's opportunity from what we saw last year, 209 attempts, over 1,000 yards, 18 touchdowns, which I think is unrealistic, 17.8 fantasy points per game. That's exciting for a guy that is costing pennies. Jalen Wright coming in at 5'10", 210 pounds, a prototypical back with speed, a 4.38 40 time, the second fastest in the NFL Combine, led college football with explosive plays and a 52.1 breakaway percentage, which is exciting when you think about who is coming into this offense and how McDaniels loves the speed type of guy. Okay, even if you are saying, well, Jalen Wright is just going to be the first or second down guy, what about Devon? Even if Devon eats into his workload just a little bit, there's still a pathway for him. And what does Devon do? He produces with limited opportunity because he is so efficient. Now, maybe he gets more opportunity going into 2024. I completely agree. And maybe Devon is going to be the lead back over Jalen Wright at the end of this year. And maybe Devon is the one that you want. But it's going to most likely be either a split backfield or a 60-40 where Jalen Wright is going to be seeing opportunities coming into this offense, which is exciting. Once again, costing absolutely nothing. So another league-winning running back for you, that low risk, high reward coming in.
I love Jalen Wright. I've drafted him in a lot of dynasty leagues. I will say, I don't have high expectations for him this year personally.
Sure.
I do think that if Raheem Mostert stays healthy, then he will just be a depth piece at this point.
I completely agree.
There will be some sprinkle of carries. So I like the idea of beating the waiver wire, I guess, with one of the last picks in your fantasy drafts.
And I think that's what a lot of
Wright.
people are going to do, by the way. Like, people are going to be like, well, I have Raheem. I wasn't able to get Devon, so let me go out and draft Jalen. Or the other way around. You have Devon. I couldn't get Raheem. Let me go out and draft Jalen. And once again, it's a big caveat because of Raheem Mostert needs to go down. But I say the chances are on my side because of the injury history, So
yeah, there's certainly a chance he goes down. Low expectations. I think he takes over that role at some point. Is that this year? We'll find out.
Yep.
But it's going to be tough to roster him if Mostert is healthy through the first 4 or 5 weeks.
Sure.
You're going to find it difficult to keep that guy on your bench when the waiver wire is exploding.
No question.
He might be someone you drop at the wrong time and then you pick him up. Try and pick him up. It might be too late, but let's find out what happens. The third player I'm excited about, Ladd McConkey. I am higher on him in my rankings than any website out there that you're drafting on. My wide receiver 35. No one else has him in the 30s. This one is simple. Ladd McConkey can separate up there with the best receivers in this draft class.
Yes.
And wide receivers who produce as rookies, it's very rare that you do that without the ability to separate from day one in the NFL. Think about it. Jordan Addison, Tank Dell, Zay Flowers, Puka Nacua, Josh Downs. All these receivers were able to produce in year one. Think about those other names that weren't really able to produce very well. Quentin Johnston, Treylon Burks recently, Jonathan Mingo. The receivers that you want to bet on in year one are the guys that you already know can separate at the next level. Ladd McConkey, don't take my word for it. I encourage you, go listen to anyone who covers the NFL draft, okay? Because they're going to agree with me that he is one of the best separators in this entire class. I've even seen some people compare him to Jordan Addison. What would you do with a rookie Jordan Addison attached to Justin Herbert? Keeping in mind that this team just lost Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, and Gerald Everett. Their top 4 target earners are gone. And I know it's a new team. All right, this team is going to drastically change. We've got Harbaugh, we've got Roman. They're going to run the ball a lot, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to throw at all. It doesn't mean Justin Herbert's going to be throwing 17 balls a game. Like, he's still going to be up there in the mid-20s, and someone's going to have to be targeted with those passes. And again, look, Keenan, Eckler, Everett, Williams, the 3 top target earners are off this team. No disrespect to Quentin Johnston, but he had every opportunity in the world to break out. I don't think he's the number 1. Maybe he's a good value as a number 2, but he's not the number 1. So, in my opinion, I think Ladd McConkey is reasonably priced right now. He's attached to a wide receiver, to a quarterback, that's produced high-end options, and he's affordable. So I just think he's someone that you should go buy. I know the offense changes, but man, I want to take a bet on a guy like Ladd McConkey in my drafts personally.
Yeah, no question. One of the phenomenal talents here. We both loved him coming out of college. I completely agree. I mean, especially, I think the biggest one there is being connected to Justin Herbert, which I think it's huge. He could easily produce multiple fantasy relevant wide receivers, and Ladd McConkey with the separation is phenomenal here. All right, last guy on the list here. I'll keep mine kind of short, simple, and sweet here with Troy Franklin. You know, we have seen quarterbacks and wide receivers come out in college going into the NFL and getting paired with each other, and looked how that turned out. Now, yes, this is not the Jamar Chases and type of talent, or even the Joe Burrow type of talent, but the quarterback duels that we've seen have been phenomenal, right? Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase, Kyler Murray with Hollywood Brown when they got linked up, Jalen Hurts with Devonta Smith, Tua Tags with Jalen Waddle, now Bo Nix with Troy Franklin, a top 12 pick in the NFL draft, and Bo Nix and Troy Franklin obviously falling to the 4th round. So he's definitely going to be an outlier if he does break out, but we have seen it with the Amon-Ra St. Brown, obviously the most recent 4th round wide receiver to break out. Once again, the history and the chemistry that he already has with Bo Nix, he has an edge on all these wide receivers. So let's look at the depth chart here. Okay, I mean, Cortland Sutton talks about him holding out OTAs in camp, more reps for Troy Franklin. That's basically what I'm seeing here. But I do believe Cortland Sutton will be back for training camp. Then you have Josh Reynolds, who signed a 2-year deal, who hasn't had significant fantasy success in his career. Marvin Mims, who's locked in as a slot wide receiver. And obviously Troy Franklin, who has the chemistry with the quarterback. Okay, he is going to be the wide receiver that is going to be alongside their Cortland Sutton. And what did we see with Troy Franklin this past year in Oregon? He played out wide 80.9% of the snaps. He played out wide, with 18% playing in the slot. So if you're saying, well, Troy Franklin is going to be a slot wide receiver, which I do believe he can, he is most likely going to be out in the slots. Even though you may not see that in the depth chart here, I think that can easily change as we get into the season. As it says, I guess Josh Reynolds is the number 2 wide receiver on the right side there. So I think he surpasses Josh Reynolds in camp. We've seen multiple great conversations about, or specifically comments about, Bo Nix and Troy Franklin from Sean Payton. So I think if you can get, once again, Troy Franklin, maybe even somebody that's going to be on the waiver wires here, because when I was looking at his ADP, it was very difficult to find, meaning that he was going undrafted. And once again, that might change as we get closer and closer to the season. Maybe we see a preseason game and Troy Franklin and Bo Nix are going off, and then, holy crap, now he's a round 10 guy, right? Keep that in mind. And this is what's exciting about Troy Franklin going into this year.
Yeah, I think Troy Franklin's, it's so much, you've brought a lot of sleeper guys that could break out that are really fun last picks or waiver wire ads before the season begins. And Troy Franklin's a great name. The draft capital isn't fantastic, but you're right. When you have that pre-built chemistry with a guy like Bo Nix, it definitely can play a huge part. And we think Troy Franklin should have gone higher in the NFL drafts. Keep in mind, Sean Payton did move up for Troy Franklin in the draft.
He did.
What is that worth? Because he moved up for Marvin Mims and then gave him 30 targets in a season. So we'll find out. But I do like Troy Franklin as like a sneaky guy to produce when no one sees it here in year 1. But all right, 6 rookies right there. Let us know what you think. Go ahead and hit the like button to show some love. Subscribe if you like the content. And we'll see you in a future video. All love. Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, LAND, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.
It's so easy. Even your grandma could scan that QR code right there.